Is everybody online?
I think
Yes,
it would be good. I think it would be good to do a for the people who are by phone, maybe just an attendance.
No, roll call.
Who's
Yeah,
a roll
let's
call?
do a roll call. I'll let somebody before we start the meeting. If we could have somebody who can watch. There's a reverb in.
I would be glad to read the names and phone numbers that I can see on my screen.
Okay, well, does somebody need to be muted because there's a terrible reverb in this. Does anybody else hear it?
Absolutely, I do. I think it's gone.
I don't hear it anymore. Okay.
All right, so roll call is Commissioner Michael Pipe. Are you here?
I am here. Yes. Yep.
Commissioner Mark Higgins.
Here.
Jody Ned.
Here.
Natalie Smith.
Here.
Jillian Savage.
She does not have a mic, but she is present.
Okay, thank you. Phone number 883-5109.
That's Tisha.
Okay, thanks, Tisha. Thanks, Jody, for Tisha. And I think we have WJAC also on the call.
Okay. That's everyone?
That's everyone on my list that I can see.
All right. Okay.
And Margaret Gray.
And Margaret Gray. Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate that. Okay, I'd like to call the Center County Election Board meeting to order at 1:03. We appreciate everybody coming. If there's anybody here for public comment on anything on or off the agenda, now would be a great time to address it. And you can also address it at the time that any actions are taken. So if there's anybody here for public comment, please unmute yourself and ask away. Going once, going twice, hearing no one, we'll move ahead to new business, which is Act 15 of 2020, which is involving the unsworn declarations for campaign finance reports. I think this is one of interest to a lot of us who have to fill out those reports, and it makes some sense to have a robust discussion about it. And I'll turn it over to Michael for kickoff.
Sure. And yeah, we received a few questions from folks who look to us. And this was just people reaching out saying, if I needed a file, can I use this now? What does this look like? And so Jody and Tisha can speak a little bit to what the DOS's perspective on it was, but ultimately it comes that there's a thinking that we should adopt it and say that it's an appropriate thing for individuals who are filed in Center County to run for office or who will be running for office shortly to be able to have them fill it out. And basically the whole reason why the governor and the legislature passed this was it gives it doesn't enforce the notarization, which due to the pandemic might help to spread the virus, and so it just helps everybody to stay safe. But they can walk through a little bit regarding that, and then maybe once we get to a certain portion of the meeting, or I'm sorry, a certain portion of the discussion, if Natalie would be able to screen share what the forms look like on the link that was sent out with the agenda, it might be good just to have a understanding of what they look like. But I'll turn it over to Jody and Tisha.
Sure. Essentially, Michael, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. It pretty much is just to eliminate the committee chairs or candidates for having to get their campaign finance notarized. So as long as they submit one of the unsworn declarations along with their campaign finance reports, then we can accept it. Now, we haven't received any yet, and I did not send out any of them whenever I sent out annual report reminders, because I had not heard anything from the Department of State whether or not we were going to be allowed to continue to use it. So that's why no one has been informed prior to now. So I guess I was looking to the board for approval to allow us to accept these forms from our candidates with their campaign finance reports.
And essentially what it does is if Natalie's able to share maybe the report one, the candidate finance, or I'm sorry, the campaign finance report doc, the thing that the Department of State has created. But essentially it is a two-page form or statement that replaces the affidavit section on the campaign finance report or statement that we're all familiar with. And essentially, if you're a candidate, you when you fill out your report or your statement, you just do the top. If it's your political committee, you have to then, if you're assigned political committee, you have to have the treasurer signs first, and then you as a candidate sign second. If it's just a political committee and it's not affiliated with any specific candidate, the treasurer would be the only one that would sign that top line. So in each of the documents that are created, it still has that top section and bottom section. So for example, if somebody who's running for, let's say, a supervisor position is just going to be doing a statement that doesn't have, they're only spending $250, they would use the document that's labeled unsworn statement, unsworn declaration replaces the campaign finance statement, and they would just have to do that top line. But if somebody would create a political committee, they would then, and they spend over $250, they would be using the unsworn declaration report one, and that's where their treasurer would sign the first block that's on page 1, and then page 2 would be where that designated candidate would sign. And it's essentially it's the same exact type of signature and information that's provided on the form that has the notarization section, but in this one, you just don't need to get it notarized. And we're seeing as well with the petitions requirement has also changed. It changed last election. It'll be in place for this election, where if somebody circulates a petition for a candidate, they don't have to get it notarized. And so we're seeing more and more, not just with the pandemic, there being less reason for notarization, but just in general, that requirement was lifted prior to the pandemic, and it makes sense. There's been very, very little. I don't think there's been much fraud here in Center County. Zero fraud of people forging signatures to get on a ballot. So I think it makes sense. But anyway, very quick and easy form, and Jody's already working with Chad to get that on a candidate website on the webpage, where if candidates would like to download the form, they can do that. And of course, our office would be happy to help with any questions they might have. But no, I think it would make sense for us to streamline things. And, we love to support our notaries, but, saving $5 or $10 to get something notarized also helps people out as well. So, I think it's pretty straightforward, but we can certainly answer any questions.
Michael, I just want to reiterate as well, this only applies to the campaign finance aspect of the petitioning. The candidate's affidavit still needs to be notarized.
Great point. Thank you, Jody.
So this would be effective today then if we approved it.
I would agree. And from Jody's standpoint, it sounds like we haven't received any of these kind of forms. So it sounds like there wouldn't be anybody that we'd have to grandfather in, that if somebody would want to come by later this afternoon and turn them in, or tomorrow, or on Monday, it would be accepted.
Hello.
Did you catch that? Did Steve?
Yeah, I got an emergency phone call right in the middle of that. If you could just hold, you give me like 15 seconds.
Of course, sure.
I'll be back.
Yep, sure. And it might be something as well, Jody.
I'm back.
Oh, sure.
But okay, well, let's get that process going. It's probably a little late for the folks like me that are actually going this afternoon to do our annual report, but for everybody else, we moving forward, I think it'll be great.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. But I'd be happy to make a motion to that effect to approve the option for the replacement of the notarization requirement for campaign finance reports and statements.
All right. Mark, you have a second?
Sorry.
We have a second?
I can second that, sure.
So it's been seconded? All right. Okay. Any other discussion? You all right there?
Not really.
Okay. So there is a motion and a second on the table, correct?
Yes.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Hi.
Okay. Okay. I hope you're all right. Didn't sound good. That sounded like you might have been choking. Anyways, let's move ahead. I guess under old business, we have to discuss the Center for Tech and Civic Life expenditure report. Michael, if you want to jump on that.
Sure. Happily. And Natalie, if you wouldn't mind sharing those two images that were sent out on a screen share, that'd be terrific. But as we all know, back in 2020, we applied for and received $863,828.50 from the Center for Tech and Civic Life. As part of their grant requirement, we needed to, by the end of January, report back to them the categories that we spent the money on. And on your screen, and also emailed out last night, are the different categories. And I'll just run roughly through them. Ballot drop boxes, we were looking at about $100,000. That also includes the security upgrades, including the vehicles that we purchased to help the sheriff, and also transportation departments have vehicles for the pickup of the vote by mail ballots that were used in those drop boxes. And we can now say that we had over 20,000 of the vote by mail ballots came through via the drop boxes. So out of every 3 ballots that were voted by mail or vote by mail ballots, 2 of them came back in a drop box. So it was very, very widely used. In terms of PPE, we had about 25,000. Poll worker recruitment funds, hazard pay, and training expenses were about 75,000. Polling place rental and cleaning was about 20,000. For our temporary staff at the Bryce Jordan Center and some of the staff that we utilized in the elections office to help answer phones was about $38,000. In terms of the cost associated with the satellite elections office at the Bryce Jordan Center, it was just a little bit over $4,000. We used the Penn State in-kind funds for the vast majority of the rental fees there, so that brought the cost down substantially. The big ticket items are these two. The vote by mail, voting equipment and supplies was $250,000, $250,000, and the election administration equipment, which would have included the new DS200s we purchased, and some new voting booths as well. And some signs for outside the polling locations, A-frames, that came to $188,000. And we also had about $27,000 for ads that we ran to notify people about election deadlines and the websites that they could use. Also, we spent some money with new cards for voters to let them know about their polling location changes. And again, that came to about $27,000. The report also has $0 in there for drive-through voting. We were not one of the states that does drive-through voting. Other states did, so we have $0 there. And then Center County is not, per federal guidelines, falls into language accessibility. There's only about three counties in Pennsylvania that need a second language on their materials. We are not one of them, so we did not spend any money for voting materials in other languages than English. So those are the categories that they stipulated that they wanted to know about. The total there would be $730,000. We then did spend an additional amount of money on 3 other lines that they didn't have. Temporary staffing, hazard pay was about $18,000. vote by mail worker pay. So the people who are actually working in the vote by mail room on election day and the day after was about $9,000. And then we did do some polling place accessibility improvements for just shy of $21,000, specifically in Snowshoe, at the Borough Fire Hall, at Munson. We did some great upgrades there, and also at Colville as well. We did a lot of good work to upgrade those facilities. So that brings our total amount that we spent with this grant. It is about $780,000. Great news is that we can apply for a 6-month extension, and the CTCL has indicated that it is their goal to approve every single extension request, and so we then would have the ability to roll over $85,208 into next year, or into this year, for the primary election. And I think from talking with Jody and Tisha, there are costs that we could definitely use this for, including some potential hardware upgrades that we would need to do for the new Shore system, some boxes for ballot transfer that Jody had identified. So I think there's going to be enough costs that we can, of course, use. We can use a lot of this to offset any vote by mail ballots we would be printing up, any temporary staff we might need to hire to do that. So I think we're going to be able to spend it. So it's good news, but happy to answer any questions about the grant.
Thank you, Michael. I think that was a pretty comprehensive look at the financials there. I don't think spending the extra money will be a problem, by my guess.
I would.
Yep.
Thank you,
Mike. That looks great. Glad to see you've got a plan so we can utilize all of the potential funding.
And essentially, all that we would need to do, I think, is just to look to approve the report for the closeout of 2020, and then as we get closer to the June after the primary election, we'll just need to do another one to say how we spent those funds. But again, it won't be a problem for us to spend those funds down.
So, are you looking for action to approve the finance report?
I think it would be prudent just to and I'd be happy to do that, which would be to approve the submission of the final report for the 2020 expenditures for the CTCL grant.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Any other discussion on the submission of the financial report for the grant money? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion carries. Is there anything else for the good of the order that we need to cover? Either Tisha or Jody, Mike, Mark?
I have nothing.
All right.
I don't have anything, but Natalie Smith is pointing out a very good point, and we're glad that that Mark, that you are doing better. Might have been. Yeah.
I'm doing a lot better now.
Okay. No, we've all had that happen to us, but Natalie made a good point, which was that I made the motion for the sworn declarations, and I also seconded it because you weren't able.
I will gladly second it.
Okay. So note that's what I assumed occurred. But if do we want to have a redo on the vote? Would that be appropriate?
I think so. Just to make sure everything is
cleaned up.
Yeah.
Let's just clean it up by, is there a motion to approve the Act 15 affidavit process? Is there a motion for approval?
Oh, did I? I will make the motion.
I will second
Mark,
that
would
motion.
you like to second? Okay, so now it's been properly moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions about the motion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, just to clean that up to make sure we are playing according to Hoyle. Okay, so is there one last call? Is there anything else to come before the election board this afternoon before we adjourn?
I do not have
Hearing
anything
none-
today, but just briefly, I don't have anything today. I think a look ahead would be Jody and Tisha are working to get polling places locked down. We're
Right.
going to be doing the candidate packets are going to be finalized in the next few days. And they're also, Jody's been working with Chad directly to get a website set up where if people did not want to come into the Willow Bank building, they could download everything online. But there will still be a process where if people want to get packets picked up at the Willow Bank building, we're working to finalize that. But just in the weeks ahead, we'll be seeing that. But nothing else today. I appreciate everybody's time.
Okay. And just to note, the petition period starts, the 16th of February. So we have a little bit of time before people have to get out there and get signatures. But just wanted to note that. All right. If nothing further before the board, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, properly moved to second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, passes unanimously, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for coming. All right. Talk
Bye.
to you soon.